How are you doing, sir?
How are you?
All right.
Matt, is this the best way to log in to see if there's any questions? I just logged in and got into the live stream. Is that what you do? Anything would be over here in the chat?
Yeah, but I'm sure you're on live chat. You may need
To get into it.
yeah, because mine not going.
I think you gotta do the same thing. I go on in and look.
On it, I called Catholic because they were looking at how how things went. There was a time there was
Okay.
I want to say about maybe 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But she got it figured out, so it's supposed to be.
But it's all, yeah. That's what you look at. That's what happens.
Supposed to be applicants coming out.
Because Indeed, like, and then you have to hit a couple of links to get mail. And that's why we didn't have mail, right there. That's why we didn't have mail, because not so much.
Good morning, who do we have on the line?
Indeed.
Good morning, this is Jill.
Hi, Joe.
And that's why I think we all need mail.
Good morning, who just joined?
Now, or
Judge Webb.
Good morning, Judge.
Resident supervisor.
Good morning.
Now we took the mail part away, so this is resident supervisor.
is it just one?
No, but then we also have resident supervisor, and then we have resident supervisor. Because we
And I bet resident supervisor, she was like first, they'll hunt for the mail, and that's like, that's, you sent for it, that's what it was for them. Because it was amazing how many, because he was saying the same thing, oh my God, we want mines.
For those on the line, we're just waiting. We have 2 board members present right now, just waiting for everybody else.
Not gonna be there.
He's the only one.
Top member of the board.
Judge.
He said if you all get a check, I gave it.
Yeah.
Good morning, who just joined?
Commissioner Metzger.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Morning.
We did not start yet.
Wasn't enough.
Okay.
You start thinking outside the box, conversation.
Good morning.
How are you? Yeah, thank you. I can't wait.
I feel good.
And I have nothing planned.
What we just talked about.
No, that wasn't on the agenda. I didn't know, is there?
No.
Okay.
I just wanted.
I didn't know if there was a reason that I knew.
No. I'm teasing you, Mr. Blue.
I want to.
I was gonna ask you if you would become Rick Mirabito. And I didn't know if that was pity or. But you'd have to register with them.
It's even a shake, right?
Absolutely.
I work every morning.
Oh, my gosh.
Good morning. Who just joined?
Morning, sorry I'm late. This is Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
She had it all.
So, those are. She's.
Good morning, everyone. At this time, I'd like to convene the prison board and seek approval of the minutes.
I'll move to approve.
Do I have a second? That was Commissioner Marabito made the
I'll
motion.
second it.
And Nikki seconded the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. At this time, we will recess the prison board and seek nominations.
So we're moving the agenda around a little bit, and we're going to move to election of officers, and we'll seek a nomination for a chair pro tem to run the elections.
I make a motion for Brian.
You're gonna nominate Brian
To
pro temp.
pro temp.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second.
Good.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign? All right, at this point, we'll open up nominations for the positions of chairperson of the prison board. Are there any nominations?
I nominate Commissioner Sawyer.
I'll second that.
We have a nomination and we have a second. We don't need to vote on that, but are there any other nominations for the position of chairperson of the prison board? Hearing none, nominations are closed. We will now open up nominations for vice chairman of the prison board. Are there any nominations?
Nominate Sheriff West.
Second.
We have a nomination and a second. Are there any other nominations for the position of vice chairman of the prison board?
Mr. Chairman pro temp, I think it's actually vice president. If you look at the
Yeah.
prison board minutes, the term as president and vice president. Not to be technical, but just so there's no confusion.
We'll use those terms interchangeably. Seeing none, the nomination is closed. We will now take nominations for the position of secretary of the prison board. Are there any nominations?
Nominate D.A. Gardner.
We have a nomination for the district attorney. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a nomination and a second. Are there any other nominations for the position of secretary of the prison board? Hearing none, nominations are closed, and because we have one nomination for each position, we will cast a single ballot for the positions of
chairman or president, vice chairman or vice president, and secretary of the prison board as nominated. Are there any questions or discussions on the ballot? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor of approving the positions as nominated signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Mr. Chairman, the meeting is yours.
Thank you. Okay, this time I'd like to convene the commissioners, reconvene the prison board, and move on to public comment only. Hearing none, we'll move to approval of bills. Can I have a motion to approve the bills?
I'll make a motion.
Nikki?
Second it, Mayor Vito.
Mayor Betos?
Second.
Okay.
Judge Butts.
Second, Judge Butts. Okay, any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Okay, we'll move to approval of personnel actions.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have a long list of personnel actions for this month, starting with Adam Kapitsky as a full-time correctional officer relief at the prison. Included in that list are Joshua Flexer, Brittany Heck, and Ethan Gush as a part-time correctional officer at the prison, Alexandra Medford, full-time correctional officer, Elijah Alexander as a full-time correctional officer, Megan Whitmer as a part-time resident supervisor at the pre-release center, Caitlin McGraw is a full-time licensed practical nurse, Julie Morlock is a full-time clerk 3. The next one, there's actually a correction. It should be Shania Blackstock, S-T-O-C-K, not Stone, as a full-time correctional officer relief at the prison. Michaela Smith, a full-time correctional counselor. Ramon Newsom as a full-time correctional officer relief. David Padilla, full-time correctional officer relief. Michael Kirshner, Shane Ridgway, and Casey Shea, all full-time correctional officer relief positions.
Good. Okay, could I have a motion to approve the personnel actions as listed on the agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Nikki, could I have a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Maravito. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. We'll move on to informational highlights.
Thank you, Commissioner. The next,
Oops, I apologize.
You got 16 names there. That's got to be a first in a long time that we've had 16 in one shot like that.
it's probably the first that I recall in my tenure as administration at the prison.
Yeah, it's good news.
And it's not all correctional officers. There are a few other positions in there, but the majority of them, as you can see, are correctional officers. So we are making ground on our vacancies.
And the majority are full-time.
Correct.
That's good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we'll move on to informational highlights.
The first informational highlight is the prison's population report for the month of December. The prison averaged 148.26 males at the prison and 34.55 at the pre-release center, for an average daily population of 182.81 and a peak in the month of 190. The females, we are still outsourcing our females to outside counties at this time. So the .13 would be any females that were held, that were committed and then held beyond midnight and transferred the following day. There were 5.87 females held at the pre-release center for an average daily population then of 6 and a peak in the month of 8. Our average daily population then is 188.81 and we had a peak in the month of 197. There were 27.55 males on in-home detention and 6.77 females. And then our overcrowding transfers, as I had stated, it's indicated as 15.45 overcrowding transfers. That's 15.45 females that we have outsourced or had outsourced on average in the month. So our average daily population then for the month of December, including in-house and out-of-county for overcrowding, was 204.26. Next report is the prison disciplinary report. The disciplinary committee, chaired by Deputy Warden Barnes, conducted 21 hearings in the month of December. 14 of those hearings resulted in a guilty finding with disciplinary lockup time. 5 resulted in a guilty finding with disciplinary lockup time suspended, and 2 were found not guilty of their infractions. That was those 21 hearings were conducted on 20 inmates. 1 inmate had greater than 1 incident. There were 10 informational reports generated in the month. And Ryan, is there anything else that you wish to add?
No, I don't have anything to add.
The pre-release center report is your next report. That shows that the average for the month was 8 males on work release, 26 males on work crew, and 6 females on work crew, for an average of the month of 34 and 6. The year-to-date average then for 2022 was 34 males and 8 females. The bail release program report follows that, and in the month of December there was an average of 139 clients on the bail release program, 92.93 on supervised bail, 94.81 on intensive supervised bail, and 1.26 on supervised release. Those clients then saved an average of, or saved a total of 4,309 bed days at the prison. The last informational report is the mental health snapshot. The snapshot was taken on January 11th, and on that day there were 261 total inmates within the prison system. 97 of those inmates were indicated to be under roster A with no mental health history. That's 37.16%. 68 were under roster B with some past mental health history but no active symptoms in the last year, or 26.05%. 88 fell under roster C with current mental health history, 33.72%, and 8 were indicated under roster D having some form of serious mental illness. That was 3.07%. Psychotropic meds administered at the pre-release center, of the 48 inmates, 8 were receiving psychotropic meds, and that was 16.67%. Females, there were 3 of the 7 total that were receiving, and that was 42.86%. At the prison, there were 22 males receiving meds of the 144, or 15.28%. And of females, there were 8 receiving meds of the 22, that was 36.36%. Total inmates receiving meds at the pre-release center was 20%. Total percent of inmates receiving meds at the prison, 18.07, and then 18.55% of the total population were receiving psychotropic meds. Additional informational highlights: on December 8th, Deputy Warden Barnes and I provided a tour to the current leadership Lycoming class. That's something that we have generally done every year, but COVID had shut that down for 2 years, so it was good to get that back, get the tour back up and running. Fairly large class, and I think the tour went very well. And then on December 20th, the Department of Corrections Office of County Inspections and Services issued a letter and a report explaining that the Lycoming County prison system had earned full compliance during the 2022 inspection period. That letter was, I was copied on the letter, but the letter was actually sent to Chairman Massar, and detailed that in our inspection this year, we were found to be in full compliance, and I think that is a testament to the entire staff at the prison and the pre-release center, considering all of the hardships that we have incurred over the last year, or over the last couple of years, to come through with a full compliance prison inspection. I take my hats off to them and their efforts over the last year.
Mr. Chairman, I think it is worth noting that we appreciate the efforts that the leadership team there and all the staff have done to be able to come through 2022 with a rating like that, of being in full compliance. it's really something that we want to recognize and thank the staff for. Maybe you can extend our thanks to them.
Yes, I will.
And to the leadership, you, Warden, and Deputy Warden Barnes, and Deputy Warden Edner, all the folks who make it happen.
And Rob?
And Rob, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. At this time, we'll move on to old business and the reentry program.
Good morning.
Would you please state your name, what you do for the county?
Yes, my name is Bethany Young. I am the reentry coordinator for GEO. Alrighty, so starting with
This is Ryan. I apologize to interrupt. I doubt Jules, if she called in, is able to hear this individual.
Yes, I'm here, and I can barely hear.
Okay, my name is Bethany Young. I am the reentry coordinator for GEO Reentry Services. Starting with the report from the Adult Probation Office, there was 21 sentenced, 56 APO, and 2 pretrial. The total program population as of January 9th was 79. 56 of those were male, and 23 of those were female. Total clients receiving monitoring services was 33. 8 of those were alcohol monitors, 5 of those were GPS monitors, and 17 of those were home guards. And then we also had 3 on the breathalyzers. And we had 11 juvenile cases receiving monitoring services too. And total intakes for the month of December was 12. Moving on to the in-prison report, the active participants as of December 31st was 26, and the pending intakes was 2. Since the beginning of the year, since January of 2022, total intakes completed was 107. Total LSIR assessments were 88. Total transitional action plans created was 95. And total sessions completed was 282. Total participants released from the program was 147. Total referrals made were 86. And total resources given was 316. Total referrals made to the program was 131. 77 of those came from the prison, and 54 of those came from the pre-release center. For the month of December, there was 8 intakes, or 8 referrals, sorry. And referrals broken down by sentence for the year was 16 probation violations, 31 max out, 52 new cases, 29 domestics, 2 contempt, and 1 pretrial. And the reentry service statistics for the month of December, the average population per day was 74. The total intakes was 12. Total discharges was 14. 3 of those were successful completions. And total EM participants was 44. 33 of those were adult and 11 were juvenile.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's the last report you just gave.
Okay. The prison board meetings, our next meeting will be at the Executive Plaza here on 2/10/23. And I'd just like to talk a little bit about the challenges that were faced at our prison and the female population. So I'm going to ask the warden to see if there's any plans on returning the female population or some type of time frame.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, this is actually a daily discussion that the deputy wardens and I have regarding current staffing levels, where we are, and as was stated earlier with the personnel actions, we are certainly making some serious ground on getting people hired. As the board perhaps understands, getting people hired and getting them on the schedule are two different situations. So getting them hired is the first step, but then there is a training period that they go through internally. So these personnel actions will have an impact, but that impact will be seen in about 4 weeks when they actually are trained and on the schedule. That's really the main factor that we're trying to get enough people on the schedule, trained and working as correctional officers, not in training, but actually working to be able to return our inmates. The tentative plan is to have them back in the middle of February. And that's going to be contingent upon maintaining the people that we're hiring and also maintaining the people that are there. So we have talked at great length about this because there is, it's an unusual circumstance. It is one that does not come without its many challenges. And we're reviewing this every day because we want to get them back as soon as possible. It will make, it doesn't eliminate the challenges internally, but it certainly eliminates the challenges of having to transfer inmates out every day, which is basically what we're doing. Every time we get a commitment from the a female commitment, we're transferring them out.
Okay. At this time, at least to the report I received this morning, there was 23 females out. We do have 19 U.S. Marshals, inmates at our prison, which really helps offset the cost, the additional cost.
Those are all male inmates.
They're all?
Yes.
Correct. So that's a little bit of help. I'd like Rob, PRC manager, if you could come on up here, and you were part of the solution, or at least part of it, to help the guards. And I know that I will say that you all made some adjustments in your own departments to help fill in some vacancies and some slots to eliminate some of the stress. How did that affect the PRC? And what are your plans to get it back to some type of normalcy?
So we continue to hire staff. We're still interviewing.
Could you state your name?
Yeah, Rob Thompson. I'm the manager of the Crew Release Center. Kind of caught me off guard with this. So, yeah, we've continued to hire our staff. We had, on third shift, we had one less person working overnight, which created some, some post modifications. It's not the ideal situation. It's not where we want to be, but if it's temporary and there's a plan to slowly have the staff that are at the prison come back maybe 1 or 2 days a week, I think we can get through it.
Well, we appreciate all the effort, and that's not easy. We recognize that. So we appreciate that effort.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Chris?
Yeah, just one thing real quick. I don't.
Well, I think it's important
Yeah.
so that they know who you are, what you do.
Chris Ebner, Deputy Warden of Inmate Services. One thing to piggyback off of that, I want to take this time to thank the staff from PRC that have come down. It's not easy on them. We recognize that it is not easy to change your routine, so to speak, but their help has been greatly appreciated. It goes back to a team effort, which has been incredible to see on our part. And so the hope is to keep the plans and keep moving forward. We're definitely, as I stated yesterday in another meeting, we are making ground, positive grounds, and the hope is to have them get back as numbers are rising out at the pre-release center. I think it's important. We have to weigh that in everything that we do as well. So it's a fine balancing act, but I think it needs to be said that the people that have changed their physical location and work, hats off to them, and for a job that's very good. Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Henry. The DA and the judge are still on, and sometimes inmates need to be placed in the hospital, and that creates extra challenges. And I'd like to say that the judge, as well as the DA, we try to find solutions because obviously of the shortage of staff. And again, another inmate is in custody and at the hospital. And what did we do to help fill that gap for the inmate at the hospital?
Well, the efforts are underway from a coordination standpoint to include as many other departments as possible to assist with the staffing coverage.
Okay. Would the judge or the DA like to comment on anything?
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, DA.
Just a couple things. With respect to the PRC, I kind of want to reiterate, if it hasn't already been previously stated, efforts are underway between my office, defense counsel, the courts, as well as the prison, to kind of reopen, reutilize PRC as it was in the pre-COVID era. I know the prison, and I commend them for taking serious proactive measures, or proactive steps, I should say, in order to facilitate that. I'm definitely hopeful that sometime in February, the PRC population will begin to increase. So for what it's worth, I think the prison is doing, and the PRC through Rob, they're doing a wonderful job. Secondly, with respect to the inmates, due to the CO shortage at the moment, at times they do require hospitalization. Each inmate that is admitted to the hospital, their status is evaluated, at least by my office, me personally, to determine whether or not accommodations can be made in the form of bail modifications, and whether or not they truly need to be supervised 24/7 while they are over there. Understanding that works a hardship as far as the financial commitment that the commissioners graciously have put forward to accommodate the shift differentials and coverages, etc. So again, a unified effort. Unfortunately, 2 of the 3 commitments, their station, their status did not warrant a bail modification, and it's going to require that they are supervised or there is coverage for them around the clock, 24/7. But that's in the interest of both the inmate safety, the safety of those at the hospital, and the safety of the community for a number of reasons. But again, these are all efforts that are coordinated. I applaud the sheriff's office as well. They've put a lot of manpower forward. I want to thank Judge Butts. She's identified various individuals through adult and juvenile probation that are eligible to supervise these individuals when they're admitted to the hospital. And I know some of the detective staff has participated as well. Again, I think it's just worth noting that a lot of effort goes into these ventures. I want to commend everyone that's involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Judge?
He was just offering, or I was just going to say similar comments to the ones he made. We're trying to, be very conscious of who's going to jail and how long they're going, and then making the employees that are interested in taking those extra shifts, who do have that correctional training in the past, to be able to take advantage of that.
Thank you. I guess one last comment is, this has probably been one of the toughest challenges that we faced in at least my career as a commissioner. And it was incredible to see the effort that was made to solve some of the problems, or at least eliminate some of the stress, but it still was difficult. I say all this, to piggyback off Commissioner Marabito's comment about it's nice to see, we're hiring now, and the help is here in the very near future. But
Commissioner Stair,
yes.
when you have a chance, I just wanted to ask you a question.
Sure.
I didn't want to interrupt what you were saying.
Okay, no problem. But there is in government, we're required to provide certain, safety measures and functions, and it is not always easy. As a matter of fact, sometimes it's super difficult. And the people that we rely upon, to execute that practice, they do a tremendous job. Now, yesterday, I believe we lost another coworker here at the county, and we see coworkers that retire and some that are still working that pass away. And I want to tell the prison staff, we do have the judges and the DA here, that you make sure, I would say every morning, that you tell your employees, your coworkers, your colleagues, that pay attention. Pay attention to your body, not just your physical body, but your mental. Pay attention to those coworkers, and make sure every day, their state of mind, their physical bodies are at the forefront, not their job. Okay, we need them to be healthy, and that's why we've implemented, a health center. That's why, our most valuable asset, as Commissioner Metzger always says, is our employees of this county. And we don't want to see a loss of life. We don't want to see illnesses. It's going to happen, we understand, but stress the importance to them about what we need to do physically and mentally, just for our well-being. I'll let Commissioner Marabito make a comment too.
Well, the judge has a question. And
Yeah. Okay, Judge.
Thank you. With all of the things that happened over the holidays with respect to the other county employees stepping up to cover shifts in the hospital and the transition of moving those females out to Clinton and Center County temporarily, I got to remembering about, and specifically you, because the two of us have been on the prison board the longest, I think, of all of the people that are currently on the board. And I know I've been on since 1999, and I got to thinking about how in 2011 the commissioners had funded a study to determine if we should build a new prison, and how it was going to, offer many more beds and everything, and how we all collectively came together and said, before we do that, could we explore some other options? And it was through that exploration that we had reentry, and we came upon enhancing supervised bail. And I was thinking, and the reason why I thought about this is, what type of position would we have been in had we built that new prison with such a shortage of manpower? That we would be I think we'd be in a lot worse position than we are now, as bad as we perceive it to be. So I'm grateful that that Board of Commissioners was willing to explore other options and be creative so that we actually predicted the future in a way to try and keep things small instead of super expanding and then having to deal with the consequences. So my question for you, Commissioner Massera, is this. Did you remember that? Did you think about that when everything was going on, where we could have been had we decided to move forward with the new prison?
Well, that was my first term, probably my first week. And when you see a $44 million prison, and we know that wouldn't have stayed at about $44 million, I relied solely on the expertise of yourself, former DA, Eric Linhart, in the prison, the staff. And that's the first time I believe a study was actually used well, I shouldn't say that, but to really help us make a determination of down, a decade from now. And you are absolutely correct. I think it was through your foresight that we did find GEO reentry. It was a collaborative effort from every department to make that happen so that the taxpayers would not have paid that probably about $50 million for that new prison. So, oh yes, I look at that as one of our successes in good government, but it doesn't happen without good people that are willing to work together.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner.
To follow up on the comment you made about if you don't feel well, we have a health center, so any employee who doesn't feel well can go during working hours to get checked out, as opposed to maybe trying to go home or trying to go to a doctor, find a doctor. We have health experts over there, both doctors and physician assistants, and so we would encourage people to do that, because sometimes you don't quite know what's going on. I think when you made that comment, it triggered that thought in my mind that we want to keep people healthy. The other thing is I just want to put in context for the public the challenges that are faced. When we say an inmate has to go to the hospital, this isn't like, oh, we've been planning this for 3 weeks and they're having elective surgery and so forth. The staff comes in and boom, someone's had some crisis, either immediately or the prior night, and they need medical attention. So that means that all of the people involved, President Judge, the DA, the sheriff, the wardens, our director of administration, everyone has to sort of cast their day to find out how we're going to get coverage to get this prisoner covered, because obviously they're all keeping in mind safety, public safety, and the safety and welfare of the inmate. So I want the public to understand that it isn't just that's why it's also very challenging, because all of these people have 1,000 other things that they're trying to do on a particular day. Now, of course, as we get more staffed, that challenge will become easier to deal with, as it did in the past. This isn't like the first time we've ever had someone go to the hospital. It's more difficult when you don't have anyone that you can pull off of the blocks to take them. And that's where we also thank all those police officers, all the other officers who have stepped up and helped us out. But I just wanted to put it in context, because I think that people don't necessarily understand the context in which that happens.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Marabito. Any other comments? Okay, since we already went through the election of officers, any public comment? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
You don't want to get specific, no, but the idea of those stuff.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you. Thanks, Tony. Hope I answered your question.
You did.
Yes, sir.
Oh, my gosh.